for some channels, we have resolutions on desktop, but they are not working on mobile web. For the others, we have flows that work on mobile web and that don't work on desktop. And every time you have to like break your brain a little bit and approach a completely new problem completely from scratch. That's a great attitude, I think, for a growth marketer to like be able to look at the things completely afresh.
Welcome to Mobile Growth and Pancakes, a podcast by StoreMaven. We break down how and why mobile apps grow. In each episode, we invite a mobile growth expert onto the show to break down a specific mobile growth strategy, how it worked, why it worked, and what they would do differently. I'm your host, Esther Schatz.
Welcome to Mobile Growth and Pancakes. I am joined today by Marichka Baluk, who is head of a whole lot of networks at Blinkist. Marichka, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, absolutely. Thanks so much for having me here. And hi, everyone. My name's Marichka. And yes, I lead quite a bunch of channels in performance marketing team at Blinkist. Currently, these comprise Google ads and all things display, search, and also affiliate. I also take care of a couple of growth topics for the Blinkist team. For instance, data and also CRO in especially web user acquisition funnels. So yes, a whole lot. The title sounds pretty nuts, but well, that's the reality of it, I guess.
And you've been in the growth industry for 10 years now, something like that, more?
Yes, I started as like a general marketer, online marketer 10 years ago, completely as an accident, and I've been in the industry doing both growth and specifically performance marketing for all this time now.
So a happy mistake, we'll call it, 10 years ago.
I don't know if it's like a mistake. It was lucky, strange chance, and something I definitely did not envision for myself. I was supposed to be either an English teacher or a linguist, or I don't know, something maybe with like overall business direction, but I'm very happy where I ended up for sure.
Nice. Okay, so I think one of the things, this podcast will come out a bit later than we're recording it, but we're recording on the eve of iOS 14.5. It's about to be released. And I think one of the things that's super interesting with you at Blinkist is, kind of focusing on some of the other networks and other channels that you've been experimenting with in the past year. Let's kick it off with affiliates. Can you, what brought the world of affiliate over to Blinkist? Why was this something you felt like you needed to tackle?
Yeah, well, first of all, it's definitely a very ominous day. I'm very excited to see what the new reality is going to look like. And I know we've all noticed a lot of changes already with the previous updates on the iOS end. But yes, I think even before the news that came about about a year ago from Apple, we at Blinkist were realizing that the funnels that we were using were strongly reliant on mobile app installs. And we definitely wanted to diversify that and to tap into as many alternatives as possible. And because web acquisition proposes such a great benefit of saving 30% on your margins because you're not really paying out to Apple or Google on the stores, we were really intrigued by making a web acquisition grow. And for us, that was like one of the easiest way to tap into it is, of course, through affiliate channel. Affiliate actually has been part of Blinkist marketing portfolio for years. I think we installed our first platform in like 2013 or 14. We did not do a good job with it at all. We were working with, I'm not sure if I should actually say the platform mentioned it, but actually the platform look is quite okay. I think our setup of it was a problem. So we worked with Has Offers before, and a lot of things that we set up in terms of event tracking, first of all, were not automatically sort of like having any proofing on our end. So the the marketing manager who had to deal with it had to basically check back in on numbers and reject events if necessary. A lot of financing and invoices were super granular and hands-on work. And so affiliate for the longest time was the channel where we sort of got those inbound requests, managed them, responded to questions if affiliates had any. Once in a while did some like sale with them and provided a bit of material. And that was it. And I think when we realized at some point, we like started talking to a lot of companies because we always try to share knowledge and talk to companies that are not necessarily our direct competitors, but are learning and having similar problems. We realized that our affiliate share in our marketing mix was very low. And that being one of the channels that, well, in most cases brings positive ROI always, we try to realize what is wrong with our setup and how can we make it better. And at that point, actually, I stepped in to take over the channel. We decided to migrate to a different platform, set up processes from scratch, simplify a lot of things, and make sure that we have the capacity within the setup to also do more outreach to different partners, onboard new types of partners, and grow the network.
So being more selective in the affiliates that you're working with, or was that something different?
I think being selective is one thing, but for us, it was more about being able to not be stuck in day-to-day operations and being able to rely on the system itself to do a lot of work. So automating quite a bit of things. So right now we are working, for instance, with Impact Radius, and we decided to set up events not through the pixel or adjust as it normally is done. We decided to send events via server to server from our backend. And so basically, that what does it mean for an affiliate manager in day-to-day? It means that all the purchases that they receive on the affiliate platform are 100% verified. And then if a cancellation happens, we register that as well. So there's no need, we basically need to just look at overall numbers a couple of times a week, and we do not need to go into reviewing certain conversions, rejecting certain conversions, etc. So one huge part of the job has already sort of fallen off and is not necessary anymore.
So you save a lot of time basically by making sure that you own directly the events that are being passed rather than relying on any third-party tool. Interesting. How much time do you think that saves? Let's say in a week, on an average week.
I think a couple of hours for sure. I would say like 2-3 hours, because I think it depends quite a lot for the company that does affiliate. I know that there's a lot more issues with fraud on mobile for us, for sure. And so if we tap more into the mobile direction, we do see already spikes in the more upper funnel actions and in clicks. And I imagine that if we were registering that through Adjust Events or Pixel, we would have to go very deep into partner level performance and also the spikes throughout the day, and then try to justify that and discuss that with partners. All of that is gone now. So on a normal week when nothing happens and we are not having any strange performances, that's probably going to be around like 2 hours or 3 hours of time. But then on the weeks when anything like that would happen, I think it's even more.
And how are you measuring ROI for affiliate efforts? How are you, what are the main KPIs you're looking at? What are the things that you take into account when you decide to change the process, the provider, everything that you're looking at?
So on day-to-day, we have basically ROI goals attached to every channel that we run, no matter how performance-driven it looks to the outside marketing world. So affiliate has its targets. And of course, we receive the revenue already and we pass it back to the platform. So we notice that already on the platform side, but there's also internal reporting where we pay attention to these numbers all the time. And basically, yeah, we look into the conversion rates across the partners to make sure that the audience that they are sending to us is looking healthy and on average on par with what we normally see for our acquired audiences. So basically, how many signups do we see converting into free trials? How many purchases come out of that? Simple checks like that help us understand if the partner is doing things correctly, or if something gets some events are generated but they are not converting further down the line, we reach out and sort of try to understand how we can support them, or if there are any issues on their end. And then of course ROI and the revenue that is incoming from the partner is the main KPI. Since we work on the revenue share model with our affiliates, we are normally in positive numbers, but we also have our targets. And within those targets, we basically look at overall performances and what else we can squeeze in as like any like flat deals, editorials, etc., without to boost performances with our specific partners.
So how granular can you get on a partner level? I mean, can you kind of control the level of engagement that you have really with individuals, or is it more casting a wide net, setting specific KPIs, and whoever falls into it gets kind of automated into that process?
So I think because we are not so big yet, we are pretty hands-on, and I wouldn't say that's very sophisticated, but we definitely have the visibility of specific partner performances. And I think if we were working with more networks, which we are sort of planning out right now and trying to figure out how to scale further, that would be a very different situation. One thing to notice is that like an important note to understand why we work this way is basically due to the fact that the partners that work specifically for Blinkist are maybe not the most popular verticals or segments of affiliate partners across the web, because our product is so content driven. The best types of partners for us that have amazing conversion rates and have very high intent audiences are the ones that are around learning, entrepreneurial topics, basically blog owners, content developers. Those partners are something that we learned to cherish over time, because the value of their audience is immense. It's normally a very, very high intent people that are super relevant to what Blinkist is catering towards their users. And so we try to look at those partners specifically, especially knowing who drives bigger audiences. And basically, if they are delivering good results, we always are trying to do more partner level deals with them from time to time. We give them some sort of like incentive for their audience so that they can push this even further. Whenever there's any new hot titles coming into the app, or any specific book lists become free, which we sometimes do that, especially around certain like social events, etc. Then we mention that to them because we know that will convert very well. And yeah, I think because we have this sort of automated process of verifying the performances of the partners, and we anyway pay out based on the purchase, it's not so crucial for us that some of the partners are at a much lower scale than the others. We are still trying to support the overall list of partners with some tips on how to grow it. But yeah, as long as they are having proper tracking, their audience is converting in some way, then I think it doesn't really stretch us too much in terms of management of the channel.
Can you give an idea of how many affiliate partners we're talking about? What's the scale of activity?
Okay, so that would be actually a very different answer depending whether we are talking onboarded partners or revenue active partners, or even like any like action active partners. I think we have a bit over like 1,500 partners in the platform right now. However, only like probably as less than half of them are active. And then the revenue share, of course, is even smaller part of that. I think a lot of them have been either part of our affiliate program historically and have migrated from one platform to the other with us, or we worked for a while with an agency and sort of didn't have those rules and conditions for approval set up very, very specifically. And I think that led through quite a lot of partners that sort of like are registering everywhere or whatever, and then maybe do not really act on it, or partners that maybe for whom our guidance is not specific enough to help them transform this sign up into the partner program into valuable traffic and revenue on their end. So right now, actually, me and the new affiliate manager in our team, who's doing an amazing job, hi Fabian, we are trying to understand what requirements do we want to have so that even like smaller content creators that have some scale and have relevant audiences come through and actually are onboarded into the program, but we don't have too many of those inactive partners that are sort of just creating the bulk and making it seem like this is a huge one, but in the end, they don't really bring results.
And I mean, I think you mentioned you focused a lot on this project because affiliates weren't making up the percent of kind of incoming traffic that you'd hoped. How how much, I don't know how much you can give us detail, but what, around what percent of your installs, your revenue is coming from this affiliate channel now that you've been working on the optimization?
Yeah, so I'll be like very rough and not very precise here, because I think that would be around like below 10% right now. It was way lower before. However, we are aiming to grow this faster and to get to a more significant chunk of the revenue, not because so much even of like specific channel ambitions or anything, but I think it's important to understand how much that relieves the goals for the other channels that are basically all working as segments of the same system. And the business goal is across all of those channels. So the bigger the share of those positive ROI channels is in the mix, the more margin the other players have to use in their campaigns.
What, let's say you've probably learned a lot, I'd imagine, over the last year or so. If you could go back again, back in time and start the project again, what would you do differently?
So many things. I think so the thing is that we sort of realized the business case for it. We understood that we were migrating at the end of 2019. First great lesson: do not migrate over Christmas holidays. One would think it's something very basic. For us, it turns out it wasn't. No, I mean, that also was like a combination of different factors, with like the contract renewals, with older platform, with new platform, with when the engineers said they would be ready and when they were actually ready, which is like we had a great technical support, but there's always some things coming up and the testing always takes up way more time than you plan for it. But I think one thing that we did not realize was how much stress it is for smaller businesses that a lot of our affiliate partners are to make those changes, to go through the links that they have anywhere on their sites or social platforms, etc., update those, onboard themselves maybe into the new platform, change the tracking on their ads, etc. So
super interesting, because you're so used to working with the monster platforms, the Facebooks, the Googles of the world. It doesn't matter what time it is or what, they're 24/7 and they're evergreen and they have their processes and of course their issues. But it's a good point. With affiliates, you're working with people, less the big machine, and you can't expect that kind of adaptability.
Yes, absolutely. And I think after that, I was already discussing with a couple of companies that were migrating after us. And when they were saying, yeah, we are planning this stage for a couple of months here, and then this stage for the next couple of months, I was like, okay, we did everything in probably a month and a half. And the difference just really is striking to me. And I'm so grateful for all those affiliate partners that stayed with us through the turmoil of the transitioning period. But yeah, so basically, maybe just like a bit of insight on how we decided to approach it. We had one platform, we understood the limitations of it, and we had actually an agency that was recommended to us by some of the other companies support us through setting up the new platform, but also through the communication with affiliates. And we decided to just basically prepare technically and then transition in a couple of steps and in a couple of uh, stages of communication with the affiliates, and then shut down the old platform after some time. And I think basically, yeah, the communication that we sent out was not the best time because it was like mid-December. We were following up and closing everything at like end of January. A lot of partners then reached out to us through support saying my links are not working or I'm not seeing the performances here anymore. So they like missed out on all of these emails. So definitely would have done this differently and would have planned it out for a bit later, maybe. One thing is that it's always pressing for, especially when you look at your business goals at the end of the year and big plans for the next one, to make things happen as soon as possible. And I think we are sort of always leaning in that direction. I think another thing is that you can never test things out to 100%, or at least we didn't manage so. So within the first couple of weeks, we actually all our superbly set up server to server process was like having sometimes the delays. So the events would be sent with like a different day timestamp or something. So the affiliates would sometimes see no events on one day and then double the events on the other day. And we had to then go back and implement a lot of checks and alerts within like hours of the same day so that we could send basically fix these things automatically and send the event in as stable way as possible throughout the day, because I think we did not appreciate how much partners were looking at those metrics as guidance to their campaign management, communication, or even estimations of their revenue for that specific month. So I think those two are definitely two very specific things that I would pay way more attention to. I think we smoothed it out and sort of like sorted it out over time, but we definitely would have been in a good place faster if we considered those and planned for those a bit more.
I feel like it happens every year. I feel like I've told my team maybe every year, don't worry, the holiday season's going to come. We'll have some time to relax. Everything's ready. Everything's set up. And somehow everything goes wrong so that it's all still, no matter how much you prepare, happening right around then. But yeah, I think that, definitely makes a lot of sense. Do you think there's apps where it's less relevant to focus on affiliates? I mean, I believe Blinkist, you have a web version, right? You don't require app to use the Blinkist service. Do you think that makes a difference in whether it's profitable to go for affiliate marketing?
Yes and no. So first of all, Blinkist does not have a sort of like a full product on web. We have just the basic functionality because reading makes sense sometimes on desktop, and we see a small share of users sometimes do that, or especially research specific titles. So we have those like rudiments of the product that are audio player and the reader. And I think the fact that you can try it out, like sign up and actually try it out and read some insights from specific titles already, that definitely helps. However, that comes so much later in the funnel that I think the understanding whether we have the product on web or not is not the most crucial part in the decision making when the user actually converts. Another thing is that we know that having an app installed is crucial for us to have the user come back to us. We don't want to just acquire a new customer and make them pay. We know that they will renew only if they build a habit of using the product. And so for us, it's actually a bit more of a double-edged sword and a challenge. The more we push users through web funnels, which are working okay at a certain scale for us right now, we see that we need to make a connection with the app and inform users as soon as possible and make sure that the user also installs the app. At that point, also, it's very important to make it clear that they need to sign in into something that they already purchased. So this is not probably the best thing that we do from the perspective of our customer support team. However, we see this happening like more smoothly in more and more cases, the more we test out the sort of like explanation and the connection that we put with app on our web acquisition funnels. So I think it's good to have this as a product on desktop. I think it definitely helps out because we see how much users want to actually engage and understand what this content looks like. I think as sort of a proposal and the marketing offer, it's sort of something vague. But when you see the text itself written by the experts in the field, it actually sounds interesting, engaging, and very educational. And so we want to put that front and center, but it comes like a bit later. So I think that the availability of the product doesn't make so much of a difference.
So you have to basically find the balance between the taster of just making sure that you get the sense of what it could be, but making sure that you're not giving. I don't remember who was saying this to me a couple weeks ago. We talked about there's an instinct to give to kind of give a lot without forcing signups and without necessarily forcing I think I was talking to a fitness app about do you let a user put in their credit card from the free trial stage, knowing that might affect their free trial, but knowing that if you're going to maintain that user, you have to have that commitment in place. Sounds similar here with you need that kind of commitment to download the app, so you don't want to give too much ahead of time. But without anything, then you can't kind of create that push.
Absolutely. And I think the latter has been a big challenge for us in overall user acquisition. And until we resolved that, or at least resolved it at the current stage, maybe we'll have some major improvements and breakthroughs in the future. Our web funnels actually were not working. To clarify that a little bit, we were trying to acquire users through not just like affiliates and podcast influencers. Those land on specific landing pages or overall on the homepage quite a bit. And that is a very like high intent audience that probably has already an insight into what your product is, because either like the podcaster will explain it a little bit, the influencer will give a review, etc. When we tried to test the web user acquisition funnels with search, it was a completely different story. We were getting users who were either looking for specific titles or specific topics or things they like. What do I need to learn about small business or whatever, stuff like that. And that's our audience. And that is those are the questions that we want to answer. But then we have to make a jump within one landing page from you are curious about this to now pay €80 for us per year. And it was very hard for us to explain that on web. And we realized how much we were taking for granted our mobile app install flow and the whole store environment that was benefiting, that we were benefiting from. Because, on the App Store, you already get a realization. This is an app. They have reviews. Their ratings are good. The screenshots are showing a little bit of what they are doing. And then you see a little bit of like long description, and you see what they are trying to do here. There's so much context in an environment in which you are prepared to receive it. When you're looking for things like that on search, or even come from broader audiences somewhere on display on web, you have none of this. And so we, first of all, like tried a lot to explain that this is an app and we have all this content, et cetera, but that was not resolving and not moving the needle so much for us until we realized that we actually we needed to put a sample, a taster of our content front and center on our landing pages. So we added that into our sort of like recommended book cards, sort of like the Audible style on the homepage. But we also have a lot of these book title pages specifically for search, where like basically it's a landing page dedicated to information about specific book. And when we put below just like the general information, a sampler, like a bit of from the insights that we are providing, and like show on the side the content that there are 10 maybe more of those insights from this specific book, I think our improvement in the sign-up rate was around a little bit above 40%. It was just that test.
Wow.
And that was like, it's a very basic thing to sort of like get to once you've done it. It's a tricky task to do because it requires way more development resources and just like connecting that content way like in places where which are maybe not best suited and do not connect very well. So we were postponing this test for a while. We were trying to sort of like put a demo of the app in the hero section of the page, put more screenshots, explain the features, show how this content is made, etc. And that was not really helping, but that was something that we were able to do with like front-end developers and designers very quickly. And then when we got to this like heavier, more resource-consuming task, but the task that actually answered to this whole question of like, what is this product? Can I like touch it, taste it, try it? That immediately made the whole bulk, like the biggest share of our campaigns on search, meet their goals,
So interesting. I think, I think a lot of developers often look at it the other way. And especially if you're a business that's been around pre-app stage and you're more transitioning into your app, is you find the store challenging in a lot of ways because you didn't get to customize the flow. It's not a landing page that you've set up specifically for this purpose. But your point is, I think, really important that there's an inherent commitment in the App Store that you're downloading an app at the end of it. So the question is, do I download it or do I not? Let me understand this app, let me not. But exactly what you're getting to. Whereas in web, you kind of have this more low commitment. You don't download, you barely have to download on web, right? You're going to a web page, you expect to see something and get your need answered there. So you do have to kind of find a way to translate that. You're looking at a product, not a web page. You're looking at something that you commit into and not a one-off deliverable. I don't think I've ever thought about it that way. The advantage of the app stores.
Definitely. And I think one thing that I observe with a lot of companies that I talk to is that whatever the company starts doing first and puts this initial effort into is normally something that works better for them. I think I know a bunch of apps that are like 100% hybrid and could be used on both desktop or app store. And I think if they started with web, so like started maybe earlier, and they just have the thinking in that funnel specifically predominantly, and they approach things a bit more from that funnel perspective and from the learnings there. And it's, even though they are even more fitting into the app environment, the acquisition really lags behind. So I think it's also important where we like put which basket we put our eggs first in. And like, I think we really develop our skill set, the team attitude as well to resolve that initial challenge. And when it comes the time to branch out and do something that is completely different and has probably to be approached in a completely different way, we are just like, it's very hard to disregard things that we've learned and look at it as like from the blank page, the start again, you know?
So basically, if you're looking at a mobile growth expert who's starting to enter the world of web and looking to kind of understand funnels there, you'd say erase everything you know, pretend you're learning it more or less from scratch and take it from there?
Absolutely. I think that's something that we are now trying to do because we see even the differences on web between desktop and mobile, where the behaviors are so different. And it's like, it's still web, but we realize that for some channels, we have resolutions on desktop, but they are not working on mobile web. For the others, we have flows that work on mobile web and that don't work on desktop. It's so interesting. And every time you have to like break your brain a little bit and basically approach a completely new problem completely from scratch. So yeah, that's a great attitude, I think, for a growth marketer to have, to like be able to look at the things completely afresh.
Yeah, I think it also it's helpful advice, not just when you're moving from mobile to web, but now we're moving from paradigm shift of how we've marketed on mobile until now, and the user level data that we've been used to getting. I think a lot of it is, by the time this airs, I think we'll know maybe a little bit more. But it's this idea of, instead of just looking to substitute and find a way to fit the newer environment into your previous activities, take that step back, see, from this clean slate, what works for me and what doesn't, and start iterating off of that instead of trying to fit it into an older paradigm that's not relevant anymore.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. You ready for our quick fire round?
Sure, let's do it.
You kind of already answered the first one, so you can say the same thing if you want, but if you could give just one tip to somebody, who's entering the mobile growth world, what would that one tip be?
Oh, I actually have a good one. That was something that my first CEO in my first company, my first job, repeated to us almost daily. And basically, it's this old saying that a good plan today is better than a perfect plan tomorrow. I think we are always challenged in ways that have not been discovered before. For every company, every specific platform, every new acquisition, flow, funnel, stage is a completely different reality because they have very different conditions from everyone else. And you're always in this situation of where it's so much unknown. And as a perfectionist myself, who is like really struggling with that, I understand how much that slows you down, that like petrifies you a little bit. And I think doing something already, getting those learnings faster today, out until you have all the answers, especially with like even iOS 14.5 coming on Monday. I think that is something to keep in mind for all of us and myself too. So I hope that helps and inspires someone.
That's very good. I feel like that belongs on an office wall. That's that's a solid quote.
Yeah, it's a very Pinteresty quote, pre-Pinterest times. Yes.
Okay, what is your favorite mobile growth resource?
So to be honest, I read the news probably like everyone else across multiple blogs of the agencies, platforms, etc. But I think my best resource from which I take the best learnings and then get inspired and bring into life is the exchanges with other people. And I think what we have here in Berlin specifically, where I'm based, is this amazing environment of companies that actually are happy to talk to each other and discuss specific challenges. I have those about affiliate, about mobile acquisition, about web. And those are the ones that sort of like give me more clarity, understanding than any like use cases that I see on Medium or on the platform sites here and there.
It's true. Maybe I'm biased, but I actually think the mobile community is like, they're so They're learning oriented more than they're competition oriented. I find, if you're in the Slack channels or you're in those agencies, everybody just wants to share and build and discuss. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Same feeling for sure.
Okay, who in the industry would you most want to take for lunch and why? Assuming you can take people for lunch again soon.
I think I'm very sentimental and basic today. I don't know if it's Friday or a busy week or whatever. I actually think I would love to meet my team because I hired 2 people in the time of pandemic. One is just starting. One has been with us, actually took over all affiliate, and is doing a great job since the start of the year. And we were not able to hang out. And I think if we meet, we will not be discussing the numbers or the growth tactics at all. But yeah, I think I was talking recently at an online conference, and I think getting into a room of like one of Berlin's app events would be great. And I actually miss this whole banter outside of conference rooms as well. So that would be nice too.
Agreed. Definitely agreed. Okay, the most important question is, what is your favorite type of pancake?
Oh, I'm a pancake fan, and my boyfriend is a huge pancake fan too. So we've tried multiple different kinds. I would say, I don't know the proper name, but it's either cinnamon roll or cinnamon swirl pancake. The one where you actually drizzle sugar and cinnamon syrup, and it basically resembles the cinnamon roll. That's my favorite combo, I think.
Oh man, I really want a pancake now.
I might go and make some, I don't know, hopefully push some meetings and make it happen,
Okay, amazing. You can airmail one over to here to Tel Aviv and I'll have one too.
Yeah, let's figure out some big scientific solution to that now. Yes.
Amazing. Marichka, thank you so much for being with us. Where can people find you if they want to reach out, see what you're up to?
I think the best place would be LinkedIn, and I'm extremely happy to expand the network of people that I'm talking to and sharing insights with each other. So you can find me as Marichka Baluk there. I'd be really happy to start a conversation.
Amazing. Thank you so much for joining us today. Enjoy the pancakes. I hope you do make them.
I must now. Yeah, thanks so much. This was a lovely conversation for me too. And thanks a lot for having me. Happy weekend, everyone. Happy iOS 14.5.
And that was Mobile Growth and Pancakes. To find out more about StoreMaven and how we can improve App Store performance, visit storemaven.com. And then make sure to search for Mobile Growth and Pancakes in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found, and click subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. On behalf of the team here at StoreMaven, thanks for listening.